Hello there. We're now being told by economists that the push to net zero is going to financially clean out the West. Now, I hope you're all having a relaxing and Merry Christmas period, and don't forget to spread the love. Well, there's another conspiracy theory becoming conspiracy fact. According to The Telegraph, the Centre for Economics and Business Research, the cebr, figures that our rush to net zero will just accelerate the shift of economic power away from the developed world, with countries like China, Vietnam, Indonesia and India being the beneficiaries. And get this, the Deputy Chairman of the cebr, Douglas McWilliams, is warning that there is unlikely to be a green jobs boom in the UK. Of course there isn't, because we've outsourced all that because we don't have sufficient amounts of cheap energy to compete with them. He also says there is a cost to green investment, as well as a cost to trying to head off events that would, or I would say should, happen naturally in the economy. I'm assuming he's talking about government attempts to smooth out the business cycle, things like keeping businesses afloat for votes during the rough times when they should be allowed to go under, or tinkering with the housing market to keep prices as high as possible. But when talking about net zero, McWilliams said, "As you transition, there will be new jobs created. The problem for the UK is a lot of these new jobs are likely to be in places like China that dominate the market for electric vehicles. Other than Australia, we have the lowest proportion of our GDP coming from manufacturing, and the idea that from such a small base you will suddenly make the UK into a manufacturing powerhouse, I think is pretty unlikely." Think about that when Rishi and Sir Keir start bigging up green jobs and investment as the general election approaches. Now, this is the cebr, just another forecasting body using economic modelling, so take it all with a pinch of salt. But this does chime with me. And there are two things that I take away with me from this report. The first is the need for a boost in productivity. That's training and modernisation, as well as hiring the best person for the job, not the token woke hire, something I've talked about before. And the other is the demographics of the ageing population. And although the article doesn't explicitly say this, that's the failure of the West to have a sufficient number of children to take up employment as workers retire. Once again, something I've talked about before. And the modern Western world does not leave enough money or time on the table for ordinary workers to have children. Families need the money and time to be families, and families are essential for social cohesion. But it seems that the state wants people who have children to also work full-time and outsource childcare to nannies and schools. Anyway, as the next election approaches, we'll be bombarded by the usual claims that our potential politicians will change the country and make it better for everyone. Well, they may change the country and then bask in the Westminster bubble glory of it all, but for the rest of us it will just be worse than it was before. It always is. Because the politicians are doing it for themselves, for their legacy, not for us. In fact, don't you get the feeling that the proles are meant to doff their caps and say thank you to our elected masters for misspending our money on trinkets to make them feel better? Now, many people say they subscribe to the concept of cock-up over conspiracy theory. That is, that when things go sour for the people, it's down to mistakes by politicians and the business world, that it's not down to a few elites doing all they can to control us. They claim there is no conspiracy to have theories about. So it must all be down to cock-ups, it's all just bad luck. But I look about me at the rich and powerful, from the lords, ladies, MPs and the civil service mandarins in Westminster and Whitehall, to the likes of the unelected UN and Klaus Schwab's World Economic Forum, bodies like the World Bank and the IMF, the EU and the Council of Europe's ECHR. And don't forget C40 Cities, the chairman of which is our London Mayor Sadiq Khan, nor the Gates Foundation, nor the Tony Blair Institute for Global Change. A whole controlling network, all of them doing their level best to control some or other part of our lives and freedoms. And do you really think they're doing all of this for our benefit? Or for their own egos, money, or worse? Far from freeing us up, every year brings more restrictions, or at least more attempts at limiting our lives. And the people at the top of all of those bodies are constantly meeting up or conferencing with each other. And there's no conspiracy. I dread to think what would happen if they were successful in all their endeavours. The last 2 or 3 years should have woken everyone up to their real intentions. Control, health mandates, limits on what you buy and where you go, and what you eat and drink. Most people I know want to live their lives with as little state intervention as possible. They want to be part of a successful community, not a digital control grid. And believe it or not, the only thing stopping these would-be dictators from totally controlling our lives is cock-ups. Yes, it's the cock-ups that are holding them back. The pandemic timing, for example, they couldn't keep it going long enough to forcibly mandate a worldwide, twice-yearly roll-your-sleeves-up policy. And their biggest mistake is that humans cannot be controlled in the way they believe humans should be controlled. On that, I subscribe to the mercury or quicksilver theory. If you take the metallic liquid mercury and hold it in the palm of your hand, it will lie there placidly and comfortably. But if you try to close your hand around it, it just flows out and you lose it all. And we're seeing more people in the US, the EU and the UK starting to rebel against the closing of the establishment fist around their lives. Look at the ULEZ rebels and the pushback at 15-minute neighbourhoods. And the ordinary people have definitely had enough of the eco-loons with their superglue habits. The overwhelming majority of people do not want to be dictated to and be inserted into some hellish, dystopian world where being human is made just about illegal. No, they want a free world where those they elect do the basics, where society is that open palm that keeps the mercury placid. People want true choices, not false choices foisted on them by fear-mongering control merchants. And they definitely don't want politicians who promise one thing during an election period and then go on to do their own thing for the next 5 years, which usually means kowtowing to the UN, the WEF and other controlling organisations. Remember that Keir Starmer said that he prefers the Davos way and its people over that of Westminster. He has openly signalled the direction he will be taking when, and barring a seismic political event, it will be when, he walks into number 10 together with his Marxist buddies. Both Sunak and Starmer are sat near the centre of the control grid. Believe neither of them. Their interests lie not with you, but elsewhere. This next election will be a crunch moment for freedom.